Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast, episode 58 fan series. I'm your host, Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me is my co host, Rob Haytayan, also the host of Celtics Talk Weekly podcast. And we have a very special guest on here, Kevin Laurent. I think I said it right again. You just told me like
Sounded
twice.
good to me.
Sounded good.
Uh,
All right. Say your name for us. Say your name for
yeah.
us.
So as we said previously, it's Kevin in USA. So for example, Kevin Durant, but in France it's Kevin. So it's Kevin Laurent.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was talking with Seamus and we were saying how it sounds like Kevin Laurent. So, would you say, since your guys' names are similar, would you say, obviously you're a big Celtics fan, but would you say you have
Yeah.
any interest in Kevin Durant?
No, no.
All right,
So
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I'm not a big Kevin Durant fan myself, so I feel like
no,
us Celtics fans.
I have a friend. I was a friend with a big Kevin Durant fan, and but I am not a big Kevin Durant. I am more a Seattle SuperSonics fan, so
Okay.
I love this. I love the when he was in Seattle, but then what he does by going to the Warriors, he does a little bit of a snake thing. So I don't know.
We got to get you a Seattle Supersonics jersey with the number 35 and your last name on the back instead of
Yeah.
instead of KD. That's what we got to get you.
I would love to.
You gotta get that. But we'll start off, and I want you to tell everyone at home. Tell us about yourself. Like, obviously, you reached out to me, and you're not from the United States, so if you wanted
Yeah.
to just mention that and just tell everyone about yourself really quick.
Yeah, of course. So as you said, my name is Kevin Laurent. So I'm from France. So as you know, France is Paris, the Eiffel Tower, the city of love. So I'm not from this place. I am from the city of Tours, which is very known for the castles, what we call the Loire Valley castles. So for example, Chambord, Chenonceau. So there's really good place. And as you say, I'm a big Celtics fan. I'm following the Celtics since 2013, more seriously in 2017. We will talk about that later, I guess. So that's a little bit of my story. And so I'm from France, and I'm really happy to be here and to represent the French Celtics community. So yeah.
Well, that's incredible, and I want to ask. Obviously, there's a lot of French players coming to the NBA, and I got to talk about that because obviously Victor Wembanyama, one of those players too, and I feel like, and Rob, you could even back me up on this too. Well, we all know the French players are really taking over the NBA right now. I mean, there's a lot of young talent there. So,
Exactly.
Rob, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to mention, you mentioned that 2017 team, Gershon Yabusele. He joined the Celtics right in 2018.
Yeah.
So we got to talk a little Gershon in this episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to. But we'll start this off, and Rob and I will go back and forth and ask you questions. But my first initial question is, where did your Celtics fandom start? Obviously, you're from France. So tell me how you became a Celtics fan and where did it all originate? Because I tell you what, I don't know if you've been to the TD Garden, but I want to hear where the Celtics fandom started. So take it away.
Okay, so it's going on two times. So as I said, 2013 and 2017. So in 2013, I was playing basketball with some of my friends. We have a club in the United States. It's college, it's high school. In our country, it's more cities. It's a cities representative, like Victor Wembanyama, for example. He played in Lavallois before, and before that, he played in Lyon. So that team from city. So in my small team, we played together basketball. And it came a day when we talked about basketball. It was 2013. And they asked me, Kevin, what's your favorite NBA team? At that time, I didn't follow the NBA. I was, I guess, 11. And I didn't follow it at all. So the night after they asked me, I go to my father's computer and I look at the teams, and I have a very big link with Ireland. So when I saw, this little leprechaun in the logo, I was like, okay, that's my team. So it was just like that for the first time. And so 2013 was the time with, the only time we did tank with the first year of Brad Stevens. We had Brandon Bass, we have Avery Bradley. I probably missed some players, so that was it. And also, my friend has a NBA 2K13 on the PS3, so it was really back then. And I did play with the Boston Celtics, so I did discover the team. And at that time, my favorite player was Brandon Bass. So it takes a lot. So that was the first time. Then I didn't look at all about the Celtics. And then came 2017 when I more seriously look about the Celtics, and I look about a little guy, like Tommy said every time, the little guy, Mr. Isaiah Thomas, the Celtics Isaiah Thomas. And I did look at him, and I love how he played. I have the same size as him, approximately one. I will talk in French meters, so maybe you will not have. It's 1 meter 76, and I am 1 meter 76. So I love the way he played, how the way he find a way to go to the layup or to make threes. I just love this team. I just love the team with Isaiah. I just love the team with Jay Crowder. I just love the team with Avery Bradley. I mean, and also Al Horford. All this team together makes me love the Celtics. So it really starts in 2017, and that's where I really follow the Celtics. At the beginning weekly, then each day, and then became a drug. So so I became a Celtics fan by this thing.
Well, that's incredible. And I do have to say, yeah, being a Celtics fan is like pretty much it's addicted. I mean, I've been watching the summer league games, and geez, last night I was into the game, and I was very like I was like, why am I getting so upset that we're losing? Like I'm like, this is summer league. What am I gonna do when we go into regular season? And it's gonna be a bridge year essentially for the Celtics. And I'm like, geez, what am I gonna do then? But Rob, what about you? What's your next question for him?
Yeah, so obviously, being overseas, being in France, the basketball community is expanding, right? We've seen it over the past couple of years, but in terms of being a Celtics fan, what is it like out there? Is it a lot of, is there one team that the area kind of supports, or is it a lot of player fandom? Is it, how does it look like, and what is it like being a Celtics fan, in France, overseas?
So I would say it's pretty much contrasted. As like the United States, the best team are really a lot followed. I mean, you have the Lakers, you have the Warriors, obviously, you have the New York Knicks. So we have that's I would say with the Celtics, these are the four most followed team in France. And we have I am in Twitter, Hex now, as Elon Musk said, Hex, and we have a small community, a small Celtics community. When we talk about Boston, we talk about we not only talk about Boston, we also talk about the other team in Boston. We usually talk about the Pats, we usually talk about the Red Sox, sometimes about the Bruins. So we talk a lot about the Celtics and all the team from Boston. We are something like, I would say, 80 to 90 people in this group. But I mean, we have a pretty strong community about the Celtics community. And if I could add something, being a Celtics fan in France is following the team, but also don't sleep, because when the game, for example, for you, it's at 20, so it's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. For us, it's at 2 p.m. It's 2 a.m. No, so that's okay. 2 a.m. So 2 a.m. So we have to wake up soon. Some people are doing their homework, or they do any other things. Then they look at the game, and they have the night watching the Celtics. So I have some friends who watch all the 82 games and the playoffs games. I have a Pacers fan, which look I would say all the games. Like, he didn't sleep. He usually woke up at 2 or 3. So that's kind of red to take. And it's not easy because it's at the night. I would say it's much easier in the United States to follow the Celtics. Obviously, when you are in Boston or in Massachusetts, Vermont, or Maine, it's much easier. But in France, it's something to take. It's a risk to take. But it's not that hard to be a Celtics fan. You can find a lot of things. You can find big hats. You can have a big hat because we have an NBA stores. We can buy a lot of things. We have NBA Paris games each year. So yeah, it's not that hard. It's a good thing to be a Celtics fan, friends.
I think we might have lost Griffin here, but
I think
absolutely.
yeah.
So yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know if he was just staring at us blankly or if he was there. But so I kind of want to dive in to a little bit of the native country players and the support towards them, especially, because you've seen a couple French guys and national players come over to Boston. We mentioned Gershon Yabusele, but
Exactly.
for you, so for us in the United States, I guess our equivalent kind of is like soccer, right? For us, when we see Christian Pulisic playing overseas, like that's our guy. We support him through and through. So what's it like for you guys? What's the support like when you see a player like Gershon Yabusele make a name for himself, in the World Cup and then come over and get that contract, or a player like Victor Wembanyama or Alex Sarr, these players who are homegrown? Is the support really strong for those guys over teams? And then, I guess circling back to Gershon, what's it like, watching him on the Celtics?
Okay, so I would say the support about the French players are sometimes much stronger than support about the team, about your
Right.
team. I know people who are more strongly support French team during the Olympics when we lost because of some Steph Curry thing. Like, I don't want to talk about 2022. I did have some reminds of this. Of
Yeah,
Steph
we
Curry
don't come on, man. We don't.
Yeah, that was really hard. I don't want to talk about it. But I think it's pretty much hard. So as you said, a lot of people, a lot of French players are coming to the NBA. It's like 20 or 30 years that it's coming a lot. And those 10 years, those 10 years, there's more and more French players. We have in 2022, in 2024, or maybe 23, 24, 23, 24, the two first picks were French with Victor in the Spurs and with Zachary Rizache in the Hawks. So it's something we are a lot following the team. We love that, seeing our players being good in NBA, being good in the EuroLeague in Europe, and of course we are happy when we can see Alex Sarr making a name in the NBA. We're happy when Zach Rizache is the same. Victor, I mean, you know Victor. I don't have to talk about that guy from Nanterre, from Levallois. And so we're really happy. And you did talk about Gershon Yabusele. So I have a small, I can tell you about something. I did met Gershon Yabusele back in 2024 before a game against Canada. It was in the city of Orléans. So it's close to Paris. It's 1 hour from Paris in car and in train. And I did have the privilege to be accredited to their trainings. So I had the privilege to talk to Gershon, to talk to Evan Fournier, who's now playing in Greece, to Rudy Gobert. So I did talk about the Celtics time and about what he wants after his career. And he did tell me, I want to come back to the NBA. I want to have a contract. I want to prove to everyone that the Gershon Yabusele that I did see in Boston was great. But now it's another version of Gershon, because he did play in Real Madrid and he was spectacular in Real Madrid. So I did prove everyone with that dunk on LeBron James, with that special dunk on LeBron, when everyone was hyped in France. I could tell you everyone was hyped. I mean, the French Twitter was terrible. And I was super happy that he came back to the NBA, but obviously not that happy that he came back to the Sixers. But I mean, he's in the NBA. It's always nice to see a French player in the NBA, even if it's on the Sixers, even if it's on the Knicks. I don't care. We still beat them. We still own them. So I don't care. So yeah, It's we pretty much following stronger the Celtics, the French team players. Yeah.
I love that. And did you get a picture with Yabusele? Do we have a picture of you with Yabusele or Fournier?
Now I didn't have it because I was for media at that time, but I did take pictures of the entire team. I did have pictures of me interviewing Rudy Gobert, Yabusele, or even Fournier, or even Vincent Collet, who was the coach of the French team that time. I did have some things. That was an incredible experience, and just having their favorite players close to us, something. Yeah, it's something incredible. It's something just happening once in a lifetime. So I was really glad for that experience. Yeah.
Well, that's incredible, and just hearing everything about the French community, how the Celtics community, there's a French Celtics community as well. Well, I have two questions, obviously, because you mentioned. We'll start off with Evan Fournier. He was actually a Boston Celtic for a short time too. And how is that experience? Obviously, you being a Celtics fan, and then Evan Fournier, comes to your team. You must obviously you're a big Celtics guy, but you must feel some type of way when French players, the ones that you've grown to love in
Mhm.
France, actually come to play for the Celtics. How was that time? Obviously, with him playing for the Boston Celtics.
Obviously you're proud. You're actually proud to see a French player playing for the Celtics. We talk about Fournier, we talk about Yabusele. I guess there is Mike Pietrus too. Did play for the Celtics back in 2008. I also meet Mike Pietrus. He's a really nice and cool guy. It was a really good experience too. You're proud, but you are also a Celtics fan. So you also want them to perform. And I could say we all love Gershon Yabusele back in 2019 to 2021. We all love how we played the Dancing Beer. Evan Fournier was more contrasted. It was in 2021. It was a strange time. We didn't do great as a Celtics team. So I was a little bit, I don't know. I was, I don't know. I was happy for him to play for the Celtics, but at the same time, I was a little bit disappointed about his play, about his way of playing. That's why I'm happy here now that he's coming to the EuroLeague in Olympiacos in Greece, and he's playing so well. So I would say too, yeah, you're a Celtics fan, so you obviously want as Jason Tatum, like Jalen Brown or like Al Horford, you want them to perform. They're French, that's great, but now you have to defend that Celtic jersey. You have to make us proud, and not only French people proud, all the Celtics community. So that's it.
I love that. I love that so much. Do you have a favorite current Celtics player?
Yeah, I'm not original, but it's a Jason Tatum.
Yeah, that's a good answer right there. That's a good answer.
That's fair. I tell you what. Well, I want to piggyback off of Rob's question. Then, you obviously mentioned Jason Tatum. What were your thoughts about his Achilles tear and obviously his road to recovery? What are your thoughts along those lines?
So the day he has is Achilles was game 4 or 5 of the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Knicks. It's like you wake up of a bad dream. It's like you have so much hope about your team, and you saw your favorite player, a player that gave everything each time. It's one of the only players that played every time, every moment, even if it doesn't count. Load management, he doesn't know. It's not Kawhi, it's not Paul George. So it's kind of a bad dream. It's like you have I would say it's like you have a friend or a family member and you heard about bad news. So it's a song about a trauma. And when you're as engaged as all of us, as Celtics fan, you didn't know how to feel. You feel it bad, really bad. So it was hard. It was really hard to live at the beginning. Then you have hope when they announced that Jason Tatum had his operation only 24 hours after his Achilles injury. You're like, oh yeah, it's going to be faster than others. So it's a whole experience, and I think Bucks fans or Pacers fans feel the same. Bucks fans with Damian Lillard now he's cut, but so we don't know. And maybe for us, maybe we'll see if it's signed for the Celtics.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine too. I'm fine too. And I think more for the Pacers fan, they have Tyrese Haliburton. I did follow the finals, the game 7 with some Pacers fan. I remember there was a big silence, like no one talked, and that was really, really, really hard to live to just feel it. Like everyone loves the Pacers out there in France. Everyone wants the Pacers to win more than the Thunder. So it was hard to live, and I kind of feel what the Pacers fans lived, and we did live it. So yeah, it was not easy.
Do you think that Tatum, what do you think next year should look like for him? Are you on board with not rushing him back, but the second he's available to play him, or are you looking to see him kind of sit out entire next year and get ready for 2026, 27?
Well, it depends of the time of recovery, but if I could choose, I would say I would love that he did play, but I would more rather want him to see him sit for the entire 2026, 2027 season, for the 2025, 26, and just came back for 2026, 2027, because that could be the opportunity to say team players like Anthony Simons, if we didn't trade him, to play, to just increase his trading value or just increasing his value as a Celtics, and then see what we can do if we could trade him, if we have good assets for him, especially because it's his last year of contract. I would be happy to see, for example, Jalen Brown or Derrick White taking much more responsibilities, and having much more time, those kind of things. So I'm more partisan of the use it for the season, and then we'll see what 2026, 2027 look like, especially with the second apron thing and all of that about the contracts. So I'm more of that. But if he could play at the end of the season and like little minutes, like for example, 15, 20 minutes, increasing his time, we see the playoff, I mean, I would be happy. It depends of the time of his recovery. I would be happy with that whatsoever.
Yeah, totally. Question I have too is, how does your Celtics gear look like? I think when you joined, did you have a Celtics hat? Do
Yeah,
you have a?
exactly.
Are you rocking all? Yep, there we go. You're rocking all the Celtics gear. I love that. I love that. So, tell me, like, are you the type of guy who always reps the gear out there? And do you plan someday to make a trip to the U.S. to come to a Boston Celtics game and go to TD Garden? Is that on your like bucket list? Like, where are you along those lines?
So for my Celtics gear, I would say I have like 10 to 12 Celtics gear, from the jerseys, from the hats, all of those things, from also t-shirts. I have a lot of t-shirts about the Celtics. For example, I would give you an example. The day we won the championship in 2024, 24, I remember the first thing after we won is I came to the NBA store and I was like, okay, I want this one, this one. So yeah, $130, but that was a glad of an experience. I was pretty much happy to buy those things. And so I have those kind of gears, and so it's keeping on increasing. The first gear I bought for small example, the first thing I bought about the Celtics is, I'm not happy to say it, but it's a Kyrie Irving jersey. So
No, that's
so I
fair though.
was,
Everyone, I feel like I even have a Kyrie jersey. I feel
Oh,
like
I got one too. The All-Star jersey. I bought one.
yeah.
yeah, everyone has one. So it's not one thing to be upset about because we all love Kyrie in Boston. I mean, fans loved him, but it's the fact that he betrayed Boston. I feel like it
Exactly.
was more so the aftermath.
Yeah,
Do-
exactly. I mean, the first thing I did when Kyrie leaves Boston is I replaced the Irving thing by Enes Kanter.
A lot of people did that. A lot of people did that.
With the
Yeah,
picture.
yeah. Yeah, and
That
then Pritchard. Exactly. Then Pritchard. So for those gears, I also have a Paul Pierce jersey, because I currently my favorite player is Jason Tatum, but all time in the Celtics is Paul Pierce. So I love Paul Pierce. I really do love him. I really love his clutch plays, and so that was also my first jersey gear, my first Hardwood Classic gear. And for the TD Garden, I did plan. I did plan to go. I did plan to go. I wanted to go 25, 26, but with the Jaden Tatum injury, it's kind of, delayed to next year. So probably during 26, 27, it's probably something I will do. Coming to the TD Garden, living the Celtic experience. Finally, didn't have to wake up at 2 o'clock to see a game.
That's
And yeah, it's hard.
well,
It's hard.
I tell you what, I give you so much credit to wake up early and watch the games, and because we do post game show till late, but you're like up late watching the games, so it's like, or early for you, like, and maybe going to sleep early to be able to watch it. So I give you a lot of credit for that. And Rob, do you have any more questions for him?
My last question has got to be, where were you when the Boston Celtics won the 2024 championship? What was that experience like?
I was alone. I was in my bedroom. I was watching the game. I did remember I was going all hyped up or happy to see. I did miss the first half. I am so pissed to have missed the first half of the Celtics game. I did wake up too late. I did miss the Peyton Pritchard buzzer. I was so pissed, but I was at my bedroom happy and also relieved that we finally won after all these years of dreaming of winning the 2022 NBA Finals, that 2-1 lead, just being going out because of one guy named Stephen Warders Curry II, which also, as I say, do the same thing against against France in 2024. Well, I was finally happy. Finally, the wait is over after 2028, and it was kind of finally we did it. We did it, as Jason Tatum said. We did it, and it's exactly what I feel in 2024.
Well, that's incredible, and I have two more questions for you. My first question I want to ask before my final closing question is, if you had to come up with a fan starting five, what would it be with your favorite players? Who would your starting five be?
My favorite players. Okay, so at one, I would say obviously Isaiah Thomas. At two, I would put Avery Bradley. I would go to Avery Bradley. As a fan, I love it a little bit more than Jalen Brown, so I would go for Avery Bradley. At three, I would go for Paul Pierce. At four, Jason Tatum, and at five, KG.
I love that one. That's a good fan starting five, right? And we've been asking this throughout that, and I mess with that one. I mess with that one. But my final question is, obviously you're here supporting the French community, and you mentioned that already. And there are so many more Celtics fans out there in the French community like yourself. But do you have anything you want to say on behalf of the French community along the lines of the Celtics and kind of the love that you guys all share for the Celtics? How is it like? Do you guys have watch parties? Do you guys just go on X and rant about how great the Celtics are, or, oh geez, the Celtics suck tonight? Like, how is what are your words obviously on the French community, and how, obviously, to close it off, how strong is the French community for the Boston Celtics?
Well, they will probably hear what I will say now, so I will not say too much bad things. But I would say they are a strong community. They are a proud community. Whatever happens, they always here. Great moments, bad moments, they always to support. Even when we lost to overtime against the Pelicans in 2022, those kind of games, they here. Even when we won, they obviously here. Even when we lost, they always here. They always proud to be a Celtics fan, and that's a thing that all came out together as Celtics fans. We are proud to be the greatest team of the history of the NBA, and we will always be, whatsoever the Lakers fans said or or the Knicks said. I mean, the Lakers fan, they have, 12 rings. The 5 hours are in Minnesota, so they don't have to talk. And same for New York. New York, I don't know why are they talking? I mean, the last ring they won was 50 years prior. So they are a strong community, or proud community. They love the Celtics. They will give everything to see a Celtics game. Some of us are more crazier than others. They watch all the games. Some of us only watch the more important. But whatsoever, they all love the Celtics, their Celtics Nation. They all are proud Celtics Nation members. And you talk about the members. We are like you. We are like Seamus. We are like, I would say Greens Runs Deep also, which is a very famous Celtics fan. We also know him in France, or others fans. I probably miss them, but we all love the Celtics, and that's what makes us different about the other communities. Other communities love their team, but we are proud. We can die for them, and that's what I love about the Celtics.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining. And I have to say, it's great to hear about how strong the Celtics community is in France as well. And I just wanted to thank you again so much for joining us. And we are on to the next one, you guys. So next one we have will be in a second. But Rob, you have something to say to close it off too?
All I'm saying is, when you're in Boston, if you catch a game, I hope to see you there. All right, don't be a stranger.
Yeah, of course.
You hit us up. You need to hit us up.
Yeah, of course, I will do.
Sounds good. Well, you guys stay tuned because we have more interviews. All right, we're back. We have Sam Titus now joining us. Alongside me is also David Caires, my co-host. But Sam, I want to start it off. Tell me about yourself. Obviously, you're a huge Celtics fan, and I want to just hear a little bit about you. So give a little intro for everyone at home.
So I was born and raised in Beverly, Mass. I've been a Celtics fan since about 2013 is kind of when I first discovered basketball. I was always Red Sox and Patriots first. And then I got the game of 2K, and I kind of learned about the game of basketball, and then learned about, the Celtics and their history. And then it kind of just led from there.
Well, I have to say, too, I was a Red Sox fan at first. Like, I was a big Red Sox fan. That was my sport, and I fell in love with basketball. But I also, you kind of already mentioned it, but if you wanted to say on a deeper level of what really started your Celtics fandom, like, what was the thing that really hooked you to the Celtics team? And that's the question we always kind of start off with.
Yeah.
Where did your Celtics fandom begin?
So I followed the Celtics on and off. Rooting for a losing team is kind of hard, but we do it. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But, and I know this is a spot for a lot of people, but it was definitely the Isaiah Thomas trade. I think that's kind of where, having someone, I'm 5'8" on a good day. So to see somebody, around normal people size doing what he did that season, and it was really that first time where we saw, potential for what could be the future of a growing Celtics after the original guys like Pierce and Garnett and Allen, after they left, dark times. It really kind of was refreshing.
Well, that's amazing, and that's kind of where your Celtics fandom began. But David, you want to ask a question kind of along the lines of what we talked about before? Obviously, you have a good question for him as well.
Yes, so I actually want to go off your first answer, where you talked about studying the Celtics history. You mentioned a point in the last 10 years now, obviously with the Isaiah Thomas trade being a point of time where you started to really fall in love with the Celtics. Is there any other moment in Celtics history, also given that we just had the Celtic City documentary come out? Did you watch that? And is there another point in Celtics history that really caught your attention?
I haven't watched that documentary yet. It's something that I definitely should, because obviously it's probably a great documentary. I think for me, so the Isaiah trade was probably the first time that I, really watched. I watched the teams with Amir Johnson and Jay Crowder, and, those guys who, were home, they were special to us, but, looking back on it, they were probably, just rotation guys, I remember Jay Crowder was like the best player on our team, and I was like, wow, this guy's great. And then looking back, I'm like, it was all right. But I think the real hope for me started with the draft of Jason Tatum. Ever since I started watching basketball, I've really been focused on watching college hoops and seeing who the best prospects are. And coming out of that draft, Tatum looked like, to me, just a star in the making. And to get Tatum for what we did, trading back and also, getting assets and also, just getting the best player out of the draft is just, that's kind of where it really took off.
Well, I also have to ask too, and you already kind of mentioned it, but you said Isaiah Thomas was a player that you really grown to love. And I'm going to pull this one up that you sent me, you and Isaiah Thomas here. And then obviously, I'm pretty sure this was at the Isaiah Thomas thing.
It
correct?
was, yep.
All right, perfect. So obviously, you got to meet Isaiah Thomas.
That was such a surreal experience for me because, IT gave his blood, sweat, and tears for the city. And just to, he was such a humble person. We had a small Q&A, and, hearing him talk about Boston and how he loves the city and loves the fans, and that, we helped him as much as he helped us. And to be able to like shake his hand and say thank you, that's just, it's just a surreal experience.
Well, I have to ask too, would you want to just, obviously you said there was a Q&A, would you want to tell us about that story, how you went to it? Obviously, again, I'm going to pull this one up. You have the whole gang here. How did this all go about? If you wanted to talk about that time, obviously.
Yeah. So, that was at Kowloon in Woburn. For people who aren't aware, it's a Chinese food restaurant, and they do meet and greets with, Boston athletes. And it was funny because I was actually taking college classes at the time, and I had a class scheduled for that night. And I had to decide if I was going to call out sick from my class or, go to class. And I caught a cold and flew my butt down to Woburn, and definitely was worth it, because had I decided to not go and be a good schoolboy, I would not have been able to, meet one of, the greats.
No, totally.
It's funny you mentioned the Kowloon, because I actually just went there for the first time last weekend in my life, and
Oh yeah,
I totally recommend it to anyone who's looking to become a true New Englander. I say after going there, you're not a true New Englander if you've never been to the Kowloon.
David,
go ahead, Griffin.
I have to say, I went for my first time like a couple months ago too. It's good. I felt like a New Englander when I went. So you're right with that.
It's good.
Gaudy, and it's crazy looking, but they got
lights.
good food.
The fun experience.
It's really weird. Yeah, it's a fun place. I can tell how it's so popular and how it's been so popular for so long. Sticking on the topic of Isaiah Thomas, though, what was your reaction when the trade went down to send him to the Cavaliers?
It was tough because, obviously watching Kyrie Irving do what he did, as a Cavalier and making huge shots and playing with LeBron and winning a championship in Cleveland. It's hard because I'm a fan of Boston first, but I'm also a fan of basketball. And I think that there are a lot of fans who have a tough time watching, their fan favorites leave. Like, that's just part of the, for me, it's a part of the game. It's especially in the modern era of basketball, to see someone finish their career where they started, or even, where at their prime, it's really hard these days. I mean, we just saw Luka Doncic get traded for a bag of potato chips to the Lakers. Like, it's just how it is. So for me, watching Isaiah, who gave everything, I didn't, him being hurt, and it was just, that was weird to me. But Kyrie Irving was one of the best point guards in basketball. Like, you have to, I was excited for the future, but also sad to see, the reason why I got into basketball, go somewhere else.
No, totally. I agree with that. It's like you gotta be a fan of basketball, and I feel like fans were so excited to bring in Kyrie Irving, but they also were so in love with Isaiah Thomas, so that's definitely a tough one. But I have to ask, you talk about Isaiah Thomas a lot. Would you say he's your favorite Celtics player of all time? Or that's my next question. Who's your favorite
That's tough.
Celtics player of all time, and who's your current favorite Celtics player?
So I would say he's definitely up there. I think for me, so I love a good underdog story. So the guys who, like Jason Tatum coming out of college was seen as the guy, right? Everyone knew that he was going to be at least a very good basketball player. So I love the young guys who have to work.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Brown was that first guy for me. Because coming out of college, people booed that draft pick because they wanted Dragan Bender. Funny how that turned out, right? And then to see, him blossom into the, finals MVP and, being able to meet him, back at Canopy where I met you, Griffin.
We gotta pull this up. I was gonna wait to ask you this, but I think we gotta talk about this after this question. But obviously, there's the group picture right here, and there is you and the Finals MVP himself, Jaylen Brown. Was that your first time meeting him? Did you go to any of
It was my first time.
All right, tell us about that experience really quick, and then you gotta tell us who are your favorites. But Tell us about that experience, because I shared my experience on it, and I love hearing all about the Jaylen Brown stories because it's just so great.
So I've been going to Celtics games. So the first Celtics game I actually went to was, I think it was in 2014. Before I was really a huge fan of basketball, I went with my dad, who had gotten tickets from a friend to see Al Horford in the Atlanta Hawks. So, at that time I wasn't super big into it. So, but ever since I've been really going to games, which I think when I really started going was 2021. I really started to try to get to as many games as possible after COVID. And every game I was just trying to get his autograph, trying to meet him. I'm a big autograph and memorabilia collector. So obviously I do it. I don't do it to sell them. I do it as a passion project. I have them all up on my wall over here.
Totally.
But Jaylen was always somebody that I was like, I need Jaylen, but he's a sneaky guy. When you get into that arena, he pops up like magic from some side door that you don't get access to. And when I heard about from Caveman that he was doing a signing at Canopy is like 20 minutes from my house, and I was like, I have to do this. Like, it's something that I've always wanted to meet him, always wanted his autograph. And I made the trek up there.
That's awesome. So tell me, would you say he's your current favorite player, and who's your all-time? Wait, is he your current favorite?
He definitely is. Players that I also really love. I love Jordan Walsh.
Okay.
I'm a big.
A little bit.
I love wings. I don't know why. I always just gravitate. Like the first Celtic I ever met was Aaron Nesmith.
Oh, got you.
So to see kind of, I was in 2021. I went to a signing and met him, and now to see where he is kind of, it's awesome to see guys that you liked bloom somewhere else. But I've watched, I watched a lot of Jordan Walsh in college in Arkansas, and to me, in college, he seemed very Kawhi-esque, which I kind of told him that when I met him. So I love guys who work hard, who, scrap, who are, get down and dirty with it. And to see those guys kind of grow this year, hopefully, because we're going to see Jaylen in a new role. We're going to see Jordan kind of get more minutes. It'll be really interesting.
Well, and then would you say your all-time favorite player is Isaiah Thomas?
From when I've watched basketball, yes.
Got you. But David, take it away. You have a question for him too.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, We'll dive into the off-season talk in a few minutes, but I wanted to go back just here to your fandom with the team, where a lot of fans, as we know in Boston and Massachusetts, or here in New England in general, we're very passionate about our sports teams. We let we ride those wins for weeks at a time. We let those losses really get into our daily day-to-day life. What is it like for you as a Celtics fan when it comes to the team winning and losing? Do you get super frustrated when the team loses and let it affect your day-to-day life, or do you sort of separate fandom from your day-to-day activities?
So I think it's all about a balance, right? Like, I love the game of basketball and I love the Celtics. And sometimes it's really hard to separate your fandom and rationality, right? Like they were, watching the Celtics play the Knicks in the playoffs and watching, blown leads. It's hard to kind of just push that aside and just be like, oh, it's just a game, because we all love this game, and we feel like the players are our players, they're our family, and to see them struggle is hard. And it's hard to, like with having to move fan favorites, it's hard to separate. Oh, I've met these people. I have spoken to them. I consider them part of my group. To think about, moving them might be better for the future. Or, we had to move these pieces because of things that are out of our control. So I think you have to really balance kind of everything is sunshine and rainbows and everything is just storm clouds.
Totally. Well, David, you wanted to ask him a question too about the off season. That'd be great.
Sure. So obviously, there's been a lot of turnover with the Celtics this summer. We've had to say goodbye to a lot of fan favorites, given the salary cap constraints that Boston is currently dealing with. Obviously, we're coming up like right around a month ago now, where we parted ways with Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis in trades. Obviously, Tatum unlikely to play at least most, if not all, of next season. What are your thoughts on the Celtics offseason? And obviously, we still have some time to go with how this summer will play out. But how do you expect the team to finish next season?
It's tough because as a Celtics fan, I want the team to perform. I want them to all play well. I want to see them get the recognition they deserve, because I feel like we're branded as such a, we were a super team. This is Jason Tatum's team. Like the other guys don't get the credit, you know? And I think it'll be interesting to kind of see what we have a lot of young guys at the end of our bench who, with all of these players who were all-star caliber that didn't get a real chance, so we're going to see what Baylor Shireman can give. We'll see more of Sam Hauser. We'll see more of Jordan Walsh and JD Davison and Peyton Pritchard. I think that this year is kind of a balancing act because you have Jason Tatum coming back next year. So you want to be competitive. But how competitive do you want to be? Do you want to kind of push more for a lottery pick this year to give Tatum more firepower when he comes back? Do you want to make trades mid-season to kind of get, players that kind of, will work better with Tatum next year? Do you want to, sign someone like Damian Lillard who, isn't going to be here for the now, but coming back next year, working with Tatum to rehab and then, see what he looks like in 2026?
So, where do you fall in between all of this? Are you more so of the idea that the Celtics should, try hard, let the chips fall as they may, or would you be opposed to the idea of them kind of taking a bridge year like the Warriors did a few years ago and take this year kind of like as a punt, get a high draft pick, and hope that that draft pick can contribute to the team in 2026 and 2027?
So I think that this year, the goal should be right now, the talent constructed, I don't see them making any substantial push for I think maybe they're probably like a play-in team. I'd like to see them prove me wrong, but I think that the play-in isn't good enough to where they want to be. So I think the goal should be developing young talent, giving as much minutes as you can to see what you have, because we really don't know what we have. We have a lot of guys who have all this potential but haven't had the minutes to prove it. So you need to see what you have for talent wise. You need to see, at the end of the season, like, has a Baylor Shireman or a Jordan Walsh, are they, rotation pieces for the future, or are they sell high? So I think that the goal is to build the best possible roster that you can for when Tatum comes back next season, but also develop your guys that you have right now.
And in sticking on this topic, what are your thoughts on the current situation with Anthony Simons? Obviously, he was the main chip that we got back in the Drew Holiday trade. Plenty of potential there, but do you see him starting the season with the Celtics? Do you see a long-term plan with him? Or do you think it'd be in the best interest for Boston to try and flip him to maybe either shed salary or flip him to get maybe a big man back or another asset that potentially could be a little bit cheaper in return?
So it's funny. So when I met my now fiance, but she was my girlfriend at the time, she was not a basketball fan at all, right? She said she'd rather watch paint dry. But we started collecting basketball cards together, and she fell in love with Anthony Simons. Couldn't tell you why, but she started collecting his rookie cards, his autographs, everything. So now to see Anthony Simons wearing Celtics green she's like, over the moon for it. Anthony Simons is such a weird, he's such a weird, I don't want to say he's a weird player, but it's such a weird situation because he's making $28 million, which is I think that's his salary, which is a great tradable contract. He's also a young talent who can get you a lot of baskets. So do you see where if he works with White and Pritchard, and if it doesn't, trade him at the deadline? Do you flip him now? Do you kind of see him through the season and see what he can be on the Celtics and see what he works with Missoula ball? Like, there's so many different scenarios, and I'm not sure if I know which is the best one for the Celtics.
No, yeah, that's definitely one to think about for sure, because there's so many, especially still being just over the second apron. They definitely need to make some moves along that. But back to your Celtics fandom too. I want to obviously throw up this one really quick. You obviously go to watch parties and everything. So tell me, how is it at the watch parties? Like, what's the energy vibes? We heard a lot about them, but how is it at the watch parties opposed to a regular Celtics game in the Garden?
Oh, the watch parties are electric. I will never forget, and it's GRD has been a friend from several years. He's good people. The watch parties, they just have such a great energy because at the arena, at the Garden, everyone's excited, but you don't know the person sitting next to you. You can't really celebrate as a group. You celebrate individually, which creates group atmosphere. At the watch parties, the person sitting next to you. You know almost everybody in that room because they all go together, every time. And to see, it kind of creates a different atmosphere because it's a family environment. I'll never forget, it was the Miami Heat series when Derek White made that last second basket. Seeing the whole room erupt, and it actually went kind of viral online because someone had recorded a video of us just all going ballistic, and House of Highlights and ESPN, they all got in on it. So it's a family environment. People all become friends. It's great.
That is awesome. And I agree with what you said. And I think David could vouch for this too. I love the fact that at the Garden, it's electric, but it's more, unless you go with a group, it's more individuals celebrating. and there you're really connected. I do have another question along those lines too, and I'm kind of backtracking to you meeting players, but this is you and Jordan Walsh and JD Davison, and I want to throw up these two. I obviously am from Maine, so I got some pictures with them too, but throwing yours up. How was that meeting Jordan Walsh? Obviously, you said you're a big fan of him, and I want to hear about that experience. And then I have one more question about that after. But how was that experience meeting JD Davison and Jordan Walsh?
So, it was very interesting because JD was kind of the first player I've met who's kind of reserved. He wasn't really super big on like answering the Q&As, and you could tell that he was just kind of uncomfortable. And I think that the spotlight's not for everybody, and I respected the fact that he kind of you could definitely tell that he wasn't comfortable, but he came out for the fans. And Jordan is kind of this big goofy guy, and it was just kind of interesting to see the polarity of two very different personalities kind of sitting at the same table together.
So you're telling me that JD Davison, because every time I meet JD Davison, he's very like one word, yeah, like very quiet to himself. And Jordan, I feel like both of them are, to be honest. But JD Davison was like more up with it.
No, Jordan was definitely
Jordan. Oh, sorry. I miss. Yeah, all right, got you. Yeah, I feel like JD Davison, he's very to himself.
Yes.
But it's funny because I actually talked to DJ Stewart, one of his teammates, and I asked him that question. I was like, what's up with JD? Is he like quiet? Like he's very quiet. And he's like, I feel like, I don't know. He said, you got to know him because in the locker room, he's a talkative guy and everything for sure. But one last question I have along those lines, and David will ask you a question after too. But my last question about with Jordan Walsh and JD is, do you see them on the Celtics roster? Because we've been talking a lot about that on post-game show over at Celtics Talk Weekly about the potential, we have some guys in Summer League that are doing good. Do you potentially see them being on the roster when the Celtics season starts?
So I think with JD and Jordan especially, you need to see them get substantial NBA minutes before you can make that decision.
Totally.
I've heard people say that JD Davison is very Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
But in the league, he's gotten garbage minutes. How can you see if you have a ceiling of Russell Westbrook? How can you see what a ceiling looks like if he's playing 6 to 8 minutes a night? I said that Jordan, feels very Kawhi-esque to me. How can I see that ceiling if he's getting garbage time minutes? So I think that this year you kind of need to see what those guys can do for your team. And, if they don't work out, then you find a different home for them or, maybe give them another year. But I think that this year you have this is a Celtics problem that we've had for a long time is not giving G League guys a chance. Like, look at Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett was a G League guy. We gave him a chance. We gave him an opportunity, and now he's making good money in San Antonio. So it's just you need to see what those G Leaguers can do in order to decide whether or not you want them on the roster.
I agree, too. That's kind of the point I've been going off of as well is, like, I feel like these guys, like, there's limited time. Like, even Josh Minott, like, I feel like he's even had a little more time than Jordan Walsh, but this is the year where you're kind of in a retooling year where you could give these guys opportunities and Jason Tatum comes back and these guys could be good options off the bench. I feel like you at least need to have a little more sample size with them for sure. But David, do you have a final question for Sam here?
I do. And going off the lines of talking about roster construction and just thinking about the Celtics current roster and the future potential Celtics, I want to pose a hypothetical question for you here.
I love these.
If you could take Brad Stevens' spot and make one realistic move to improve the Celtics today, what would you do? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and if you got to take some time to think about it, totally fine. But what would you do if you became Brad Stevens?
So that's why, that question's funny because I always say, you know, I always can talk about trades to make and trades to move, and you know, some of my trade thoughts, you know, have gone down hot with my friends, and some haven't, you know. So I'm very glad that we have a competent GM like Brad Stevens to make the right moves. For me, I think the biggest thing is, you know, allowing guys who haven't gotten time to get time. I don't think that we need to make super big moves right now. I think if we wanted to talk about, you know, a non-trade related move, I think that pursuing Damian Lillard would be a good choice, because I think you can get him for, you know, 20 million or less. So I think that that's not a bad move to make. But there are a lot of young guys on this team that I haven't even mentioned, like Luka Garza, you know, a lot of potential. And I think he just kind of sat in the background in Minnesota. You know, we have guys like Charles Bassey in, you know, the summer league who are trying to make roster spots. I think that, you know, people are always saying we need a center. I think a veteran center wouldn't hurt, but I think that, again, seeing what these guys can do, like Neemias Queta, seeing if they can be starting centers, or, you know, because this year is so interesting because you have so many puzzle pieces and so many toys you can play with. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter a whole lot where you finish. So if you could play the bench guys as a starting five throughout the whole season if you wanted to.
Totally. I love that. So you would say bring Dame to Boston. That's your.
I do. One. I think that would be a good pick.
I like that. Well, my final closing question for you is your Celtics starting five, your Celtics one, fandom. Like, what's your Celtics starting five of all time?
Oh, man. Point guard, Isaiah Thomas.
Okay.
Shooting guard, Derek White. Love me some Derek White. Small forward, Jaylen Brown. Power forward, Jason Tatum. And center is my guy, Robert Williams III.
Perfect. All right, now what's your all-time Celtics starting five? Like all-time.
Ooh, now we're getting
a tough one.
Okay, so if that's the case, are we talking in their prime being Celtics?
Where do we go with, David? Do we go with in their prime being Celtics? I think we have to, yeah.
We could go with that, sure.
Okay, because then I could say like Dominique Wilkins and Shaq, but, you know, obviously they were at the end of their careers.
Yeah, so let's go in their prime with the Celtics.
Oof, that's tough because then you're looking at like the old school guys, you know,
totally. That's
Havlicek, Bird, but then you've got like Rondo and IT. That's tough, man.
Tough one. It's a tough one. Just on the spot, like.
I think I still have to give it to Rondo because of the ring. Then, Paul Pierce at the 2, Tatum at the 3. No, Brown at the 3. Bird at the 3, Tatum at the 4, and KG at the 5.
I like it. Well, again, thank you so much for joining, and we will be tuning into the next one. So we'll see you guys in a second.
Yeah.
So we are back here. We have Jonathan Adam now joining us on the show, and we have a new we have Andrew Quinn joining us as well, my co-host as well. So, Jonathan, just tell me about yourself, just for all the viewers at home.
Yeah, sure. So I've lived in Massachusetts since May of 2019. I'm originally from a small town in Connecticut. There's about 3,000 people there. I went to a high school with 350 kids. I graduated with half the kids in my school, and I knew when I went to college, I wanted to go to a college outside of Connecticut. So I ended up going to Keene State in New Hampshire, got my degree in communications, and I double majored in elementary education. So pretty much the background that I have between communications and education, it's allowed me to be able to communicate effectively with all different types of people from all different backgrounds, from all different age ranges.
Well, that's awesome. And the question we ask everyone, where did your
Sure.
Celtics fandom begin?
Yeah, so I've been a Celtics fan since 2008. And it's interesting because actually on Saturday I'm gonna be 38 years old, but I would say that I've been a newer Celtics fan than say other people that have joined your show might be. So my first Celtics experience was in when I went to college at Keene State. I actually went to a Celtics Atlanta Hawks game, and that was actually when Al Horford was still on the Hawks, and I got to see the big three. I got to see Garnett, Pierce, Ray Allen. We were sitting in the skybox, but I'm one of those types of people that goes as early as I can to the game to go down low and just to get pictures of all the players and see who I run into and see who I meet. So,
Well, that's incredible. Oh, there goes
Yep.
my light. But David, you want to ask the next question?
Sure. So you've obviously met some Celtics players in your time. Current Celtics, Big Three Celtics, Larry Bird. How has it been meeting players of your favorite team?
yeah.
think-
So,
We got to start off with Larry Bird. You got to tell us that story first. Yeah.
so that's actually where I met a lot of people in the GRD group chat. And from then, we've actually been really, really good friends since then. I try and go to all the watch parties. I follow a lot of them on social media. I'm friends with them on Facebook too. So pretty much with that specific situation, what had happened was I get down there at 3 a.m. and I'm thinking, oh, this is early enough, right? And I'm like, and I look and nobody's in line. I'm like, there's no way that this can be right. And I didn't realize I wasn't on the correct floor. I was on the second floor and everybody was waiting down on the first floor. So by the time I got down there, I'm like, oh man, I hope I'm within the 150 people required to get wristbands to meet the different Celtics players. So luckily I was 110th in line and they capped it off at 150 people. And there was people that were actually lined up since 10 p.m. the night before that event, because how often does Larry Bird come and do any kind of public signing? Like he does signings, but they're more of a private base as opposed to a public base. So when I got my wristband, I got back in line and they specifically said that you can meet all the players, but Larry Bird's only going to be there for an hour and then he's going to leave. I'm like, oh boy, like I hope I'm within the people that can get autographs from all four of them. So at Dick's House of Sports, they gave us an option either to get the Dick's House of Sports like players signed card, or you could buy something from the store and all four of the players signed it. So what I ended up doing was I bought an NBA regulation basketball, and when it was my turn to go up and meet all four of them, they took my phone and put me on video so they could get me going through the line having all the players sign my basketball. And I screenshotted that specific photo of me shaking Larry Bird's hand. And what's cool is in the background, you could see his signature on one of the sections of the basketball. So you know it's like legit. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And what I like about these events is you think you're going to be it's going to take forever waiting in line, 8 to 10 hours, sometimes even longer. But what you do is you just strike up conversations with people, whether they're in front of you, behind you, and the time goes by like absolutely nothing. So even though 8 to 10 hours seems like a long period of time, it's really not, because you meet so many people who have the same passion and affirmation of the Celtics team. And you hear about their stories and hear about what they're interested in and their experiences as well.
Well, I agree with you on that, because like at the Jaylen Brown pop-up, it was the same way. But we also got some other pictures here. Obviously, you said you were a big fan from the Big Three. So if you wanted to share these stories for us as well.
Absolutely. So when I met Kevin Garnett, I went to Fanatics Fest last year. It was in New York City. It was the first ever time that Fanatics Fest hosted that event. It was at the Javits Center. And I looked through the list of different players that I wanted that I saw that were attending. And I'm like, oh, I cannot pass up this experience to meet Kevin Garnett, because I kind of throw that into the same situation as Larry Bird. Like, how often do you see Kevin Garnett do a public signing or Larry Bird do a public signing? So even though the photo op was about, I don't want to give you I'll give you the total amount. It was about $300. But the way I see it is, I think in my head, like, is this going to be a once in a lifetime experience? And if I know the answer is yes, then I don't mind spending that kind of money. If I know, like, oh, I'm going to see this person over and over again, I might have second thoughts. But, when I met Kevin Garnett and I got my photo with him, like, he really couldn't be any nicer. Of course, he's taller than me. Not that I set the bar that high. He's 6'8". I'm barely like 5'11", but that's neither here nor there. But when I met him, I told him, I'm like, Kevin, I just want to let you know I came all the way from Boston to see you. I'm a big fan of yours, and I just wanted to let you know you're welcome in Boston anytime. He's like, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. So hopefully, with that good nature and good fortune that I provided to him, he'll make more guest appearances in Boston and more public appearances within the Boston area.
Well, yeah. And what was the story behind Ray Allen? It looks like he's signing a book here.
Yeah. So Ray Allen, unfortunately, when I met him, this was when he was on the Heat. So he wrote the book when he was on the Heat. But yeah. So what's also interesting is I met him when he was a member of the UConn Huskies. So I was part of the UConn Huskies kids club, and they had one weekend where you can meet all the different like college basketball players. So I met him, I met Danielle Marshall, I met Donnie Marshall. So even to this day, I still have the photo that Ray Allen signed for me when he was on the Connecticut Huskies. And so with that book, he was actually doing a book sign in the next town over where I used to live in Connecticut. And yeah, it was another situation where the lady was like, yeah, just if you give me your phone, I'll take a picture of you and him. And yeah, it's all from there. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Did
Yeah. Go ahead.
Did you say something to Ray Allen where you're like, hey, man,
yeah,
leave?
So I didn't bring up anything about when he was on the Heat, but I mentioned to him that I met him when I was part of the UConn Huskies kids club when I was younger, and he got a big kick out of that.
Right, he must.
Yeah.
That's a call out that he was probably. What I've noticed with these players and stuff, it's like how do you find a way to kind of like stand out? You know what I mean? And just, it doesn't matter if you're meeting the guy, but you know what I mean? It's like, how do you find a way to be like a little different? Because they have a lot of these meetups, right? So it's like
and also what I do as well, and I've kind of given this advice to other people who, like, let's say they're meeting Jaylen Brown for the first time, or they met Kevin Garnett for the first time. I always tell them, like, what you want to try and do is, I know, meeting somebody cannot always be the easiest of experiences. Sometimes, you may be nervous. Sometimes you might get camera shy, things like that. I always just try and come up with either a fun fact to tell them when I go up and meet them, right, or I just let them know, like, all you want to do is portray yourself and make yourself feel as comfortable meeting them as they are meeting you. And by doing that, it makes the experience, I feel like 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, it makes the experience go so much more positive. Right. Because they know the true fans. Like, they know that, oh, this person's a true fan. They're going to make me feel welcome where I might be a little uncomfortable. And by doing that, I feel like the experience goes so much more positive. You have so much more of a memorable experience as well. And if you don't mind me chiming in, one of the first times I met Jaylen Brown at his pop-up shop, I actually met two women who were from, that's one of the photos. Two women who were actually from Dallas, Texas, and it was one of their first times actually coming to the Boston area. And what they said to me, they're like, oh, who are you outside waiting in line for? Because I was in line waiting for Jaylen Brown pretty much the night before. Like, I was camped out. Like me, I was there. Caveman was there. One of my other good friends, Cody, was there. So we were like one of the first 3 people in line. And that was the time where they gave out his shoes to the first 10 people in line, the white noise shoes. I think those are really cool. I think that's probably my favorite pair out of the 3 pairs he has out there right now. And So the two women were from Dallas, Texas, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, like I'm in line to meet Jaylen Brown. They're like, no way, that's our favorite player. I'm like, well, feel free to like wait in line with us or come back in line to meet Jaylen Brown. That was one of the days where the weather wasn't the greatest, but the clouds in the sky cleared up, and he stayed for, I want to say, a good 6-7 hours, just meeting people, like hearing their stories and things like that. So by the time the two women got up to meet Jaylen Brown, they're like, Jonathan, I have no idea what to say. And I'm like, tell them that you're from Dallas, Texas, but
Right.
You're huge Celtics fans, right? So I was watching in line when like they went up to Jaylen Brown and they told him that story. They were so excited to meet him. They told him that story. He just gets like this bright smile on his face, and like the experience was like so memorable. And I'm glad that I'm able to share those types of experiences with other diehard Celtics fans. Like, obviously, I want to make sure I have a good experience, but I always like hearing about other people's experiences when they meet Jaylen Brown or whomever they meet, and just learning about their experience as well. Like, I like sharing my good fortune with people as much as I can.
Well, you say that too, and I got to hear this story as well.
So Paul Pierce, I didn't meet him in Boston. I met him in Atlantic City. So they were doing a TriStar convention in Atlantic City. And that day I got a picture with him and I got a picture with Floyd Mayweather. So when I met Paul Pierce, that was the time actually before I met Kevin Garnett. And I was thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, hopefully one of these days I can actually meet Kevin Garnett. And then I'll be able to say I have a photo with the 2008 Big Three. So, yeah.
Well, that's incredible. And then last, like, players from that obviously generation, obviously Kobe Bryant. If you want to,
That Kobe?
Yeah.
No way,
So it's funny. I'm in the GRD group chat, and there was the question that somebody posed. They're like, show photos of people who are not on the Celtics. That's a cool experience, right? So I sent that photo over there, and I'm like, oh, I hope I don't get, taken out of the group, because I know how big the Lakers and Celtics rivalry is. So, but what was cool about that story is I actually met him in March of 2019. This was 2 months before I ended up moving to Boston. And I took the day off from work, and I got a book signed by him, and I got that photo with him, all for $30 in New York City at a Barnes & Noble. His photo op sold out within 45 minutes, right? And I actually met one of my friends there, and he's donned out in a Paul Pierce jersey, right? And he's like, oh, let's go in the front row. Let's go in the front row. I'm like, all right, right? So Kobe's talking about his book, right? I'm like, thinking in the back of my head, there's no way he's going to miss my friend in the Paul Pierce jersey, right? So he's talking about his book, and his eyes are locked in on my friend next to me with the Paul Pierce jersey. He gets this bright smile on his face and just like shakes his head. Like, he was totally cool about it. And when it was my turn and his turn to go and get a photo with Kobe Bryant, and actually my friend to this day still has the photo on his Facebook profile of him in the Paul Pierce jersey with Kobe Bryant. I got it all on video, like his reaction to my friend wearing the Paul Pierce jersey. So every Facebook anniversary, I make sure I share that video.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
How was he?
Yeah.
Rest in peace, obviously. How was he, in person?
Yeah, no.
Because you see him online and all that, and you see him, but like for you to be able to say, man, I met Kobe Bryant in person, that's an amazing experience. And just how was he in person?
He was really nice, and we actually got a few minutes to talk to him too, which was really cool. So like how it worked at the book signing, where all the books were pre-signed by him, so it was just strictly like a photo op, and then you would get your autographed book as you were done taking a photo with him. But what was cool about it was that he took the time to meet and like talk to everybody that was in line to meet him for a few minutes. Like, it wasn't rushed at all, which was really cool. Yeah.
Well, I got to add on these ones too. The Dick's Sporting Goods signings, obviously. Drew Holiday, Al Horford. You have Derek White here, and I pulled it up earlier. But
Pritchard,
as well, if you wanted to say those stories. And then you also you also met Derek White another time, so I asked
Yeah.
you that as well.
Is that that's at the Tapo? The Sam
Yeah,
Adams
that's the Sam Adams tap room. I met like a local Celtics fan at that event. I'm like, can you take my photo of me going up to Derek White? He's like, yeah, no problem. So, I walked up there. I made sure I was polite. I didn't push anybody out of the way or anything like that. That's not what I'm about. Like, I made sure I show respect to everybody that's waiting in line, including the person that I end up meeting. So I'm like, Derek, do you mind taking a photo of me? He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So one of my friends, his screen name is Celtics Kyle. You may have seen him either in the GRD group chat or on Instagram before. He took a photo. Yeah, and Derek White gave me his one of his free beers for free. So I still have that can in my room to this day. But yeah, with the Peyton Pritchard event, that was actually in Salem, New Hampshire. Me and good old Caveman, we were one of the first 10 people in line. And with that grand opening, Orlando Cabrera from the Red Sox was there on Friday. Peyton Pritchard was there on Saturday, and Rob Gronkowski was there on Sunday. So there was actually a decent amount of people there for the Peyton Pritchard signing. And it's interesting because the guy that runs security for Dick's House of Sports, he was like, oh yeah, I don't expect that many people for Gronk. I think Pritchard was going to be the bigger come out of people. And I'm thinking back in my head, I'm like, I don't know, man. Gronk's a four-time champion now. If you talk about the time with Tampa, and sure enough, there were people for Gronk lined up at 9-10 o'clock the night before. So yeah, it's just a crazy experience. I know when I talk to people, it's funny. We always have a game plan. Oh, what time are we going to get there? How long are we going to camp out for? And what's interesting is there's always a group of 5 to 10 of us that are really, really early. And then we meet some of the other people from the Celtics group chat. And we just we just pretty much talk to them the whole entire time. We save each other's spots. We go and get breakfast or we go for a walk. And then by the time the event's about ready to start, everybody's in line and ready to go to meet whoever.
Well, that's incredible, and I just want to hear these stories, obviously, about Al Horford.
Yes.
Well, you already kind of mentioned Derek White, but Al Horford and obviously Drew Holiday. And my final question for you, and then I'll let David and Andrew ask you some questions too, is alongside of that, how do you feel with Holiday now being traded and the potential of Al Horford not coming back? How was it to meet them and that potentially being one of the last times that they're in Boston?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a bittersweet experience. So I appreciate all the work that they did to help us get Banner 18. They both played integral roles in the playoff run, and even to this playoff run as well. Unfortunately, the season didn't end as much as great as everybody would have liked. But the silver lining to that is I wouldn't have been able to meet so many great Celtics fans. I wouldn't have had the chance to interact with Jaylen Brown as much as I have.
Right.
So, even though, the end goal is to hold up a championship and have a parade and put a banner up in the rafters, it's almost like a good and a bad experience kind of all rolled into one. So, but with Drew Holiday and Al Horford, so I really enjoyed my time meeting both of them. Both of them were really nice. Unfortunately, I wish them both very well in their future endeavors, but that was actually after the Larry Bird signing. I met Drew Holiday in Natick, Massachusetts, and I met Al Horford in the same Dick's House of Sports as I met Larry Bird, and Derek White was in the same area as well.
That's awesome. Well, David, if you have questions you want to ask him as well now, obviously met so many great Celtic players. We'll
not just them, but other celebrities and athletes too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I was always, I know it's coming up on a year now, but I thought about going to that Peyton Pritchard signing or that meeting because I'm not too far from that Salem, New Hampshire Dick's Sporting Goods. But I work weekends with my job, so I wasn't able to swing it. But I had a feeling you got Pritchard and Gronk that was going to be pretty big. So I knew from the start that was going to be huge.
Sure.
Still wish I was able to go to that to this day. But my question for you is to more so take it to the current day Celtics.
Sure.
Obviously, it's been a bit of a tough off season, having to part ways with their key contributors from the championship team, trades for Porzingis, trading away Porzingis and Holiday. Most likely, as Griffin just touched upon, Al Horford not returning. What is your thoughts on this current day Celtics roster, and what route do you hope they take next year? Because, in my opinion, from everything I've seen online, the fan base is divided between competing next year or just seeing where the chips fall as they may, whereas some people just want us to go full tank mode for a season and try and get a high draft pick.
Sure.
Where do you stand in this whole thing?
Yeah, so as of now, with the pieces that they have around them, I still think they're a top 5 team in the East right now. I mean, based upon the talent that they have, I don't know if they'll be able to match the same amount of wins per se as they had this past year, with the injury to Tatum and unfortunately having to let go of, some veteran leaders like Drew Holiday and Porzingis. But I still think they're a top 5 team in the East. Jaylen Brown, from all my interactions with him, he's way ahead of schedule in his rehab, because I specifically made sure I asked him that. I still think, and obviously I don't want to rush Jason Tatum back from his injury because ACL injuries can be kind of tricky, but I still think that he could come back maybe, say, January and February, and who knows, say they're like 5th or 4th in the East, they can make a little run in the regular season and become like a top 1, 2, or 3 team. And then when it comes in the playoffs, it's almost like anything can happen. So if I was them, I wouldn't go into full tank mode. I would see what you have around you. Like, it looks like in terms of the NBA draft, they drafted really well, and they drafted some pieces that are playing well in the summer leagues right now. And then, come next year, I mean, hopefully if they can get Damian Lillard on the low, they would actually have an amazing starting 5 with like Tatum fully healthy, Brown fully healthy. I'm sure Lillard would be close to fully healthy, Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. It's kind of hard to see anybody, be able to match that top 5, not next year, but this coming year, but the year after.
Yeah, Andrew, if you wanted to ask a question as well.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it back more towards like the Celtics fandom, the community, all that. You are always hanging out with the Jerry crew. You're always hanging out with them and traveling with them and spending time with them. Like, what are your favorite memories from being with that community and spending time with them? Like, if there's anyone that really stands out to you, or if you can just touch upon what it means to be part of that group and feel part of that.
Honestly, I've just been somebody who's been so honored to be in the group, and I'm one of the newer rookies added into the GRD group. So the time I was added into the group, and I'm sure this woman too, Bree Marie D. So she's a huge Derek White fan, and she reached out to me and she was like, "Oh, do you have any extra cans of Derek White ale?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have one." She's like, "I'd be willing to pay you for it and stuff like that." I'm like, "Oh, like, I appreciate that, but honestly, all I would want is if you had any extra like Celtics NBA Finals or extra NBA championship stuff that you wouldn't mind trading with me for the Derek White can, I'd be more than happy to give you a full can of that." So ever since then, I've been added to the group since October of last year, and I just love the experience because you see so many people like with so many different types of personalities. Like, speaking on behalf of Bree Marie, like what she does these recaps after every Celtics game or after every Red Sox game or any trade that goes down. And honestly, if she wanted to, I think she has enough talent to go work for ESPN.
Oh,
I just think
sure.
she's extremely talented in that nature where like the people that you see on sports media and things like that, like they can't do their job at all, if you ask me. With her, she's like so focused. She does all of her research ahead of time. Like she's concise, comfortable in front and speak and being able to just speak about different things. So, I really enjoy seeing those very much. I very much enjoy going to all the Celtics watch parties and just, cheering and screaming and losing my voice with avid Celtics fans and just being able to see them on a sometimes week to week basis. And it's funny because I call them like my second family. I say everyone in that group, I treat them like they're my brothers and sisters. So I always tell people I have 250, brothers and sisters being part of that group. So it's just always been an honor for me to be in that group and see different events that are going on that I may not know about, and just seeing and interacting with all the people in the group and just being able to hear their experiences, seeing how their families are doing, what they're up to, what they've been up to, things like that. So it's truly been an honor for me, and to me, these have been all these experiences I will never forget till the day I die.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Just talking about Bree and talking about everyone in the community, like it really it's just so clear that the goal of the community, the goal of being a Celtics fan, it's not to stand amongst the crowd. It's to find a way to make everyone eat, to make everyone win, to make everyone successful, to make everyone enjoy the moment and enjoy their time as a Celtics fan. And that's what is being curated and is continuously growing, through the Celtics fandom and just this community that seems to be really, really even growing more than I joined, or I've known you guys a little later than when you started, but like it just seems to be continuously growing and growing and growing. And I'm glad to see that it gives people a place to feel part of and find family and have a home for. So, I encourage everyone to really follow on Celtics and be a part of it if they're looking for something to be a part of.
And I just enjoy everybody's personality. Some of them are similar to mine. Others are different. But, we're all for one common goal. We will always want to see the Celtics win and compete and hang up as many banners up in the rafters as they possibly can. So
I love it.
Yeah.
David, you had a question.
Sure. So my last question for you will be a hypothetical one.
Sure.
If you could switch spots with Brad Stevens, what is one realistic move you would make right now to improve the Celtics?
Ooh. Well, unfortunately, even though he re-signed, I kind of wish the Celtics were more aggressive in getting a guy like Steven Adams, because I think he would have been a perfect center piece for them. Because unfortunately, with the loss of Kristaps Porzingis, unfortunately, who knows what's going to go on with Al Horford. Doesn't sound like he's coming back. We're losing a lot of veteran big man. Not only that, but veteran leadership as well. And somebody like Steven Adams, I feel like would have been a perfect big guy to kind of just throw into the role of, say, a Porzingis or an Al Horford. That's the move I would have made.
No, totally. I have two more questions, then we'll close it off. My first question is, who is your current favorite Celtics player, and who is your favorite Celtics player of all time?
Current Celtics player. Well, you know what? It's kind of hard to argue against Jaylen Brown right now. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because I love his mentality. I love how he interacts with people. And sometimes what people tend to forget, and it kind of upset me to hear about all the trade rumors involving him before the draft started. People see all the work that he does, in the games and for the team. But sometimes what goes unnoticed is the stuff that he does outside of the Celtics and for the city of Boston. You see him one day on one leg, pretty much handing out 125 pairs of shoes to local schools nearby. if he doesn't bleed green, I don't know like who else would. He just does so much for the community. Every time I go to his pop-up shop, I always tell him, I'm always going to support you because of all the stuff you do, not just for the Celtics, but for all the fans and everybody in the community. And one of the last times I met him, I actually had him sign a photo of him dunking on Giannis, and he got a huge laugh out of it because him and Giannis are like pretty much oil and water. Like you never know when it's gonna erupt between the both of them. So yeah, just being able to share all my experiences, with him, and just being able to talk to him for a couple minutes each time I meet him, I just think it's like one of the greatest feelings in the world. And if you ask me, past Celtics who I'm fans of, I would say Larry Bird and Kevin Garnett.
That's awesome. And my final question is, if you had to come up with a fan starting five, your favorite all-time Celtics, the starting five, who would it be?
Yep. Actually, I'm glad you asked me that because I was thinking of that in the back of my head before I jumped onto your show today. I would go Jaylen Brown, of course, Tatum. I would go Larry Bird, Kevin Garnett, and Bill Russell.
I like that
one right there.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would be able to match up with that group.
Griffin, we might have to do a little, at the end of the fan series, look back on the podcast and throw a little starting five across the board, and see and do a little vote. Who's got the best starting five? It might be
I agree, and maybe we could for fun times too after the fan series too, as well, maybe put it in 2K and see who's winning.
2K. Yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. We'll keep that in. But again, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Like I said, I was honored to be on your show. So to give you my 2 cents about my Celtics experience, all the joys I've had meeting, different Celtics players, but just the fans in general it's just been something so amazing.
Of course. Well, with that being said, that is going to do it for the show. So everyone, make sure you like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. Again, if you want the chance to be in one of these podcasts for the fan series, either send me a DM on Instagram or comment down below. Again, thank you guys so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. We will see you guys with the next one. Peace, guys.